last but not least, there are a couple of more things that we would like to talk to you about, and that is how does the process of coming to Austria and founding a company here will really work for you. I'm now going to pass on to Birgit. She's going to tell you about the legal issues of founding a company here in Austria, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about what it needs for you to come, live and work here.
After you have tasted the startup location Austria, and if you have come to the conclusion this is where we want to land, we would certainly recommend you to establish a legal entity here in Austria, simply given the fact that as an international company from outside the European Union, given all the tendencies that we currently face in international developments, it's not feasible. Therefore, you do need a legal entity within the European Union, and of course, we'd like you to have that in Austria. So, how do I do that? What's needed is actually that you probably with the help of an Austrian notary or lawyer, draft so-called articles of association, depending on who the shareholders are going to be of the company. These articles of association should set forth the agreements between the various shareholders. The other thing you need is you need to open an Austrian bank account where you then can pay in the needed share capital of the company. An Austrian limited liability company carries a very good image and reputation, simply because share capital in Austria is not just £1 like in Britain, for example, but share capital of an Austrian company is minimum 10,000 euros, half of which you have to pay into this bank account. Then the notary does his notarial deed, and then the company gets registered into the Austrian company registry. Also, you would need to have an Austrian trade license, usually, especially for startups that are often active in the area of IT. This is a so-called free trade where no special qualifications need to be proven. For all of these processes, when you come to this point, there are support agencies available. ABA is happy to be of service and to explain in detail to you. If you want to be the CEO of the legal entity in Austria also, then you as a third country national need to apply for a residence and work permit here. For startup founders, there are special regulations in place.
Exactly. If you are an EU national, you don't have to worry about residence titles at all. If you feel like it, you are happy, you're invited to come to Vienna, to Austria, and work here anytime. If you are a third country national, you will be needing a residence permit here in Austria. The Austrian government has created a special system for residence permits for startup founders, and this one is called the Red card, especially for startup founders. There are 3 points you have to consider when you want to apply for that. The first is there is a point system which determines if you are eligible or not for that card. It's very easy to be looked up on the internet. Of course, if you need additional info there, we are happy to provide that also. And it basically checks if you're able to be fluent in English, if you have completed some kind of international or university study. And then you add up the points you get, and at the end there will be a sum, and this will indicate, yes, I'm eligible for the Red card for startup founders, or that I'm not. The second point is that you will need to provide a kind of investment for your startup. So you will need to prove that at least 50,000 euros has been or will be invested in your startup when applying for the Red card for startup founders. The third point is that when you are somehow engaged with a venture capital fund or with some kind of incubator program here in Austria, that will also be a positive aspect on getting that residence permit. Of course, especially with this topic, there's always a lot of change going on. If you have any doubts or questions there, again, we're very happy to aid you in that. So, now you've heard a lot about Austria and why it might be a good place for you to get your startup started. Of course, we want to give you some more information on what we as ABA can do for you when you're thinking about coming to Austria or even to Europe. The first thing you should do when even thinking about that is get in contact with us. Our services are completely free of charge, and usually when we get in contact with you, the first thing we would do is to see, is there a market for you here in Austria, to give you some basic market information or market intelligence for you to make a better decision. This would be the first pillar of information. The second would be when you're in process of getting established here in Austria, we will be helping you in finding the correct lawyers if you want. We're going to help you in establishing all the process with getting the company founded here, with finding an office location that's suitable for you, introducing you to co-working spaces, and of course also to the startup community, to venture capital funds, and so on.
Once you have decided for Austria and once you're in the phase of starting the actual company formation, I think our services will help you to finalize your business plan, get input on cost factors, practical questions such as where do I find suitable employees, also perhaps what are relevant subsidy programs based on the research projects and the further development that you need to be able to launch your product in the European Union market. Questions related to regarding the trade license, these will then be the practical topics that we can cover and support you with. And I think most importantly, at every stage of the process you might have new questions. Don't worry, I think we will stand ready to assist you throughout the whole process. Even after implementation, we are there for help if needed. At that time, we might have also brought in the regional agencies, wherever you then decided to locate in Austria, so you have also regional support available. And even later on at the growth stage, by that time, I think from time to time, usually we also touch base with our quote-unquote graduated projects, because for us it is important to see how they develop here in the business location Austria.
So I think what's for you important to take away is that we're here to accompany you through the whole process, starting with the first contact, getting established here in Austria, and then at the end really also getting successful here in Austria, bringing in the people and the talents you need, and then hopefully someday you will be one of the startups that we mentioned today that are the big success stories of international startups here in Austria. Thank you.